Well, 13 or 14 should have been.
Oh, wait, hold on. This happened just after the argument with Yuto's wife. Now I know where we're at.
Yeah, the
Uh,
argument is end of 14.
you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
But
Okay, so
we
this
will
was
get
just
to that.
before. Okay. 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 Okay.
Yeah, which was 15.
Pretty sure it was started with
Uh,
no.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Uh, no, Tiri's whole archetype thing was done in like a second back in I believe it was 13 where we yeah. Uh hmm. One
Uh huh. Uh huh.
yeah, I feel like it was probably during that time, like during that recap thing.
Yep.
And then they fuck.
Yep.
Yep.
And then and then
Mm-hmm.
I had heard that Jinsei had gone to. Oh, you're right.
I will say these
Right,
memories were
Jinsei was the only one I didn't know about.
I believe these memories were also still in 13. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And I feel it was around here that Tiri would have got her cutscene. Yeah, yeah. Which in no, actually you should probably recap Jinsei's first before I go on with yeah, probably. Yeah. Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. But no, continue. Hi, Eugene. Yeah. Anything that accentuates their power and not accentuates cheap tricks. Uh, and what I was going to say is just, you know how I've been flavoring the scribe to just like summon uh the egg out of the blue? Isn't that just wrist pocket? Uh, but yep, yep, and listen, I just want to come home from my long day at work and go online and play a serialist named Panty Snatcher.
Okay, oh,
uh, but after that, Tiri, or during such, Tiri was having her own flashback, which was flashback because Amusphere, uh, of her. Yep, yeah, cutscene. Thank you. With of arriving in uh Spriggan territory, which was her waking up, uh, being surrounded by a bunch of people, and then it cut forward to, I can't believe you took out half my guys in one spell. I I know not to mess with you too much right now. Lunch while you tell me what the hell's going on? Sure. So we have lunch while he tells us while I tell him what the hell's going on. I basically inform him of the struggles of Einkrad, and he doesn't entirely believe. Uh, and I ask him about things about this world, and he brings up Oberon and the fairy wars that are described in early ALO. Uh, yep. And the scribe brings up, what if he's not being honest? Like, sorry to say, but I'm pretty used to people in positions of power promising things that they won't ever deliver on. Uh, like, like, and he, yeah, like, are how sure are you this is fact? And then he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, let's just say two of the most known people in my world are a are the person advancing up the spires the most, turning out to betray us, and the person to defeat him closing all the spires on the way. Let's just say I'm a little used to yeah. I don't. And I don't entirely remember. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, fair enough. Uh, though she would have all I think she did. I can't remember the exact, but I believe she was like, at least we want to try connecting some of them to meet back up with friends and family.
Huh.
Uh,
So that was 16 minutes of me muted.
What?
My mic suddenly muted
oh,
itself. I don't know how long it was muted, but I saw it go mute on its own.
no.
I don't know how much of that went mute. Alright, I'll just do a quick recap of what we talked about because it's still fresh in my head. Alright, so lightning round for just catching up to make sure if anything I said caught on. I don't know when this thing muted. I don't know how it muted. But, alright, lightning round. Seth shared his memories. He met with the Kate Sith. The Kate Sith first tried to pin him down and almost kill him based on the hostilities shown. Eventually, the Sovereign stopped it. He saw that they had magic. Explained to them the whole deal of Aincrad. He then trains with them, starts learning about herbology with them and alchemy. Found out some of the plants are the same in Aincrad. They get him and the Sovereign get really close. They eventually sleep together. He gets a necklace that allows him to talk to her, which he discovers, I think, also in episode 14. If not, it's recapped in 13. This is all being recapped to everybody when they meet back up at the Omamori on the second floor. Then Jinsei shares his bit from some prompts from Seth to speak up, which is about him living within the gladiatorial pits of the Salamanders. Salamanders are very warrior-based culture, following some forms of Darwinism and an honor code system based on nationalism, and no like cheap tricks like poisoning or intoxicating your opponent before fighting them, so it's assured victory. They'd rather fight you with their actual strength and prove themselves. Those who usually go into the gladiator pits are
Their
thieves.
strength and magical weapons.
Well, yeah, I'm getting there. But those in the gladiator pits typically are prisoners of war, or they are criminals of the salamander kingdom. Which typically those that are criminals in there or prisoners are other races, those who cheat, lie, or are not 100% for their own nation, where they could show desertation or cowardice. And Jinsei was there because they thought he was a sylph because he was green. After having him in there for, I think, a few months is what I said, they found out he wasn't a sylph because never shown any speed increase, never showed any magical capability. So the Sovereign of the Salamanders decided to let him go, but before they did, they trained him, armored him up, gave him weaponry, showed him around, and properly taught him, the culture of the race. And then they allowed him to leave, but they did say, once you go find your friends, you will be considered an enemy because who they're going to talk with. Because in Seth and Jinsei's flashback memories, Jinsei's being more a cutscene because he wasn't wearing a nerve gear, was the Kate Sith and the Sylph are allies. The Kate Sith were sending someone to the Sylph to send them to meet up with the Undyne and the Spriggans, which the Undyne and the Spriggans were trying to make a peace treaty amongst them, as also there was a powerful spellcaster within the Spriggan group to doing that. Only the Kate Sith and the Sylph knew this information from Seth's memories, fake memories, because he was wearing a nerve gear. But in Jinsei's cutscene, he only knew about somebody being sent from the Sylphs to the Undine and the Spriggans. They did not know about the powerful spellcaster. Also from both of them, they've learned that a man named Yuto, being Yuto in the game, but the memory version, had apparently slaughtered a bunch of salamanders and imps, fairies, and got away from that area. Something had went down. They don't know what it is, but they just know he slaughtered a lot of salamanders and imps. And when they were sharing this and getting done with sharing it, Tiri then had a flashback where she was the scribe and she met with Spriggans. The Spriggans took her in after one spell took out like 7 of their guys. Not killed, just knocked out. And they decided, all right, let's not fight, because clearly she can take most of us out pretty easily with her spells. Started sharing tidbits of both worlds, questioning each other of like, are you sure this is fact, that you'll get anything out of it? And then just also being thrown by like, are you sure you need to do this? Yeah, like, are you sure you are needing to do this? Because it doesn't sound like it has any importance to you either. And there's like, fair enough. Let's avoid that then, because that's just our own belief systems. Then what is being shared is the basic cultures of all the fairy races in Alfheim to the scribe. Thanks to the libraries of the Spriggans and their hoarding habits.
Yep.
Which
and the scribe
go ahead.
had the scribe had also been pointed out by the Spriggan leader. By the way, it actually seems like you're doing a pretty good job with that thing. Notice the eggs cracking and hatching, and scribe has smile first time.
Oh yeah, because she wanted to ask, how do you hatch a dragon? Is like, I think you're doing pretty fine. Like, just keep doing what you're doing. Now we're caught up, because I don't know how long I was fucking muted. I am sorry about that. I know I was unmuted for my intro. I don't know when it remuted.
Yep.
But, now that we're caught up, I can start talking about the Spriggans culture, because the Spriggan leader did mention basically how their people worked. The Spriggans are meant for combat. They train themselves to be proficient in any and every weapon they can. But, unlike the salamanders, they're not all about the, pure strength. They think any way to victory is liable. You can throw sand in someone's eyes. You can attack them in the night, getting that advantage. Because they simply just want to live. They strive to just survive. And they do better in the dark.
Yep.
But one thing that
it's because of all this stuff that
you first.
I was just gonna say, and it's because of their things makes them the reason that most of the races don't trust them in the slightest, or they're one of the 2 races that aren't allied with basically anyone at the moment.
Except both of the races that have dark vision. Imps and Spriggans have an alliance.
Yeah.
But that's because, they know, they're not necessarily evil. It's just stereotypes.
Yeah, and another one of the races being Undine is just because they want to stay completely neutral in this thing, because
they honestly don't care.
Yeah. Yep.
They'll find their own alignment and their own way up. They just don't want to get into conflict. Hence why they're the healing fairy races.
Yep. By the way, I did find out something interesting that I didn't realize before, and I just want to point it out. Did you know that current Alfheim Online, permaflight has been allowed now? After
Permaflight?
Whatever the company is called. Like the thing that they were requesting for to get rid of the flight timer.
Ah, okay.
Now it's that the flight timer is disabled for all races when the company swapped over.
Okay.
So that's a big reason why all the people are questing up with other races now, instead of trying to war factions that one faction is just, I heal, One is I make all the weapons.
Yeah. Oh, and the one thing that like those brigands specifically say that they don't do, even though it is the biggest like pin against them that most of the races, especially the salamanders, is that everyone expects them to betray them, like stab in the back. When the Spriggans, that is never the
Yeah.
case. They will let another race stab them in the back if they truly believe that the Spriggans are going to betray them, but the Spriggans never do. But the leader does warn the scribe, don't give us a reason to. Because if we do, you will die. We won't hold back. Basically showing that like the Spriggans are a very tolerant race, but if you do manage to make them want to betray you, you have severely fucked up.
Yep. Which luckily the scribe has no intent of doing that.
Exactly.
In
Shortly
fact, she
after.
offered to do the Undine
Oh
alliance
yeah,
thing.
it was the scribe herself that said, "Well, let's try getting this peace treaty going." Cuz you guys obviously seem to want to be just a neutral faction. You don't really want a war, and neither do the Undine. So having an alliance of neutrality would seem to be the best bet.
Yep. And the guy's
Sure.
like, "You better know what you're doing."
And I know it's either before or after all this like recapping. I think it's before because we also discussed this. Before all the recapping, Veronica also had done her archetype quest to get her Drake companion
Yep.
from that hidden
Which she
egg-like geode in a chimney that her air quote memory self had hidden. And she had became a Drake warden by bonding with the soul of the Drake.
with a bunch of magic weirdness that I have no idea what happened
Yeah.
when it came to like
We can't really go
roles
more
and
into
stuff and
that
like
because sadly, I don't remember all the exact wording, and it was a lot more emotionally connecting because Shield actually felt like there was importance to it.
yeah.
But I can't necessarily recreate it
Yeah.
here, so sadly, no details for that. Deepest apologies.
We we can probably uh if Shield is with us for episode 23.
Yeah, we're gonna be on 23. Yeah, so for everyone else, notice, since we actually haven't probably stated this in our descriptions, this is gonna be the new episode 14, but episode 14 was in June. This is in August, like
Yep.
officially August 1st, about to hit August 2nd. We're making this new episode 14. Just covering like what we lost to the
Yep.
best of our abilities and giving all the best details. So episode 23 is what's going to be coming up after this recording, which is going to be the live stream.
Now we're sorry for the like 2 sentence long tangent, but I'm now remembering that time I lost an hour of footage of doing everything horse related in Breath of the Wild. And my thumbnail was literally me chasing a horse, and Tony, my friend Tony, as an artist, just watching this happen with a sweat drop.
But all right, after that, what happened after that? Everyone
What
was
happened
caught
after
up.
that? I believe the party went off with Nilla to go do her subclass quest, but Tiri actually went off on her own to go try out the sword and the stone quest because
She also had a quest
she
connected to the Lake Maiden. That's right.
yep, and especially considering Seth and Jinsei had done the quest and it ended up really different than what she remembered. Her intent was to go there, do the quest, and see how it would end up solo. See if it would be just like in the original game. Uh which we can probably also give a slight recap of the one-on-one session because we didn't actually record that. But before she actually did get there, and the party went off, uh, Mike was like, "This is probably the worst time Tiri could have went off on herself." Because now we see two new people. One of which had delivered stone to rocks
Oh
to Nila's
yeah.
driveway earlier
Yeah,
in the
because I
day.
wanted Tiri to meet what is it?
Otekamaru.
Is it Oteke
And
or Otake?
I do not
Here it is.
have the brain
Otake.
power
It's
to
Otakemaru because
Otakamaru.
Otakemaru is the the one entity in Japanese folklore. No matter what region you're in, has been warned to be both yokai and kami. Like he's the only Otakemaru is a oni so strong that he is worshipped both as a yokai
He's a
and
god.
kami. Well, in Japan, like you can have a god in one region of Japan, but he's only a yokai in another. This guy
Here
is so notorious
is
through
both.
all of Japan. He is both. And yeah, Otakemaru is the strongest oni, the father of, I believe, monsters and demons, and is the only one that can threaten the heavens and actually attack and possibly kill Amaterasu and the other kami. Because how powerful he is. If I
Oh my
remember
gosh, I
that
just
folklore
scrolled.
correctly.
Oh, I hate myself. I just scrolled through my my YouTube feed and saw my past self and I hate it. Anyway,
But for
uh
this Otakemaru, or Haru Huang, the human being who made a Yakuza group in SAO originally, and then made a small Yankee-esque Yakuza group real life outside of SAO. He was in
he
and he
ended
was
up
fighting Sohei Benkei, which was the username, but was a unnamed friend of Seth's back in America who played a lot of Monster Hunter VR because VR technology is way
that
more advanced
existed.
in Sword Art. So it's instead of playing
Listen,
Monster
I
Hunter
wanna play
World with a
Pokemon
controller, you
DNR,
are the Monster Hunter. And
but
also Skyrim VR. Or
I wanna
Skyrim
play
VR
Pokemon
Deep
DNR,
Dive.
but yeah, we ended up the party ended up watching these two duke it
Fight.
out in the middle of town.
Yep.
And uh which one won? I forget exactly. I think I stepped away at that point and came
Otakemaru,
back to
but Sohei was actually really close in defeating him.
yeah. Which hey, over here with a build of I rolled really crap, so I put everything into charisma.
Mm-hmm.
And Otakimaru is uh
The versatile
listen,
as fuck.
I literally just went from uppercutting you with a hammer to side slashing you with a sword in a blink of an eye.
Yeah, he had the better stats when it came to physical stuff, but Sohei
Yeah.
got the better stats for AC and hitting with charisma.
Sorcerer and Hexblade multi.
Yeah, and the sorcerer was a homebrew as well. Of
Yep.
my creation.
Yep. The party ended up talking to the two. Atakemaru ended up getting on a couple people's nerves because Yakuza type.
Speaking the blunt truth, pissing people off because he was
Yeah.
right. But he did make
Meanwhile,
friends with Sohei because he, in the
Yep.
end, where Sohei pissed him off by bumping into him, told him, "You know what? You're all right, kid. At least you can stand up for yourself," and then left.
and then Sohei talked with the party for a bit and brought up that he was also supposed to do a side quest
In the same area.
with the Lake Maiden to get his Hexblade patron stuff.
And his sorcerer
proper.
level quest completed.
So
it was called the Malice of Man
we-
for the sorcerer quest. That is a very important key detail.
and the Malice of Man?
Yes, the Malice of Man is a very important specific detail that has to
Yep.
be mentioned in here because from all the cutscenes you guys had, and especially in episode 20...
We know what the Malice of Man is.
Yeah, I was just saying, and because of episode 22's dungeon run, the Malice of Man has been becoming very apparent.
But if we want to, can we just recap that real quick before we get to the rest of the actual session, because this wasn't recorded?
The Malice of Man or your little side thing?
My side thing.
Your side thing is brought up in episode 15.
I know, but we didn't really touch
you want
too
to
much
actually
on...
like talk about it on here?
Yeah.
I mean, if we do that,
possible.
we might as well call this episode 14 3/4. That's a joke, by the way.
I'm aware.
But your side bit was more to just be you than anything, not necessarily to be shared with everybody.
I just bring up because of things Siri has now.
Yeah, you can mention like what she got from it. That's fine.
Yeah. Essentially, they ended up doing just real quick. They ended up doing like the same quest to get the sword like Seth and Jinsei did, except it got a little weird. Some things happened. The Lake Maiden called Sohei her son for some reason. Probably see more of that later on in the plot. Tiri managed to actually decently easy get out the Blade of the Chosen. So
and not
two
have
of
to
the party
drown.
members and not have to drown. So two of the party members has it. And that was that part. But back with the actual party and their quest.
They went to find a ancient warrior. Who said
Yep. Me. Sorry, I was just trying to think.
Okay. Seth or Happy, you remember any details before getting to that quest?
No, you pretty much said all the big details I've remembered. Really, I'm just trying to follow along and keep up, see if anything pops out at me.
Okay.
Apologies.
Well, Happy may have slightly better memory than me, but we both still have shit memory.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Meanwhile,
I only remember most of this shit because I edited the video a few days ago, so some of it's still in there.
I was going to go back and...
Oops, sorry.
Oh, go for it. Go for it. I can wait.
Most of my memory revolves, like, I have to remember one bit at a time, so it's like, for this I had to remember, Yeah, we did do Veronica's thing. Then we did the recaps. Then Tiri had her thing, in which I remembered the different parts of the combo bit by bit. That's why whenever I do a recap in other session or in campaigns, I end up doing like a play-by-play rather than an overall thing. But continue. What you were gonna say, Happy?
Oh, fuck, what was I gonna say?
You were gonna rewatch
Oh yeah, no, I was gonna go back and rewatch to get all the details, but videos only stay for 30 days. And it's definitely been more than
Oh
30
yeah,
days
it's
for that
been 2
episode.
months. That's
Yeah,
why I
so
said I couldn't recover the video. I mean, if you watch
yeah.
13, well, 13 hasn't been posted yet. But I bet if you went back and watched 13, or I showed you 13 sometime before now, you probably would have remembered something.
Yeah, probably. Sorry, I'm not of much help.
You're fine. I was just double checking in case something popped out.
Yeah, nothing so far.
Yep.
All right, so
aside from the stupid haha thing.
yeah, which we're not gonna mention. You guys were going to find the ancient warrior, and you found him outside of the town nearby at, I believe it was a riverside, like a river near the safe zone. And the guy was, what was his name? He was a Knight of the Blood Oath person that was killed by the guy that tried killing Kirito.
Yeah, it was. I need to.
Known members. Godfrey.
Yes, thank you.
The guy's name was Godfrey. He was that red-headed guy that had the red goatee. That was super nice to everyone.
Yeah, and didn't really have much of a character in original SAO, so the abridged ended up having to make him uh, a major role player.
Yeah. But the one you guys found was, it was the Knights of the Blood Oath armor, but it was stained black. The red accent lining was faded. And he trained Nilla in the ways of the... Which one did you choose? I think she chose Demolisher. Yeah, it was Demolisher. Trained her in the ways of the Demolisher by having her destroy buildings and like burying these spectral ghost or specter archers and stuff. And during that caused her to have a flashback with the nerve gear of her in-lore self, but also a PTSD memory overlap on top of it from normal SAO. And I didn't cover the SAO one part till after stream with the person, but it was... The in-game story was her as a child killing other children who sided with the Laughing Coffin members. And it was just a child killing them quickly because the fear had overwhelmed her and she just wanted everything to shut up and be quiet because she couldn't think straight. But the actual screaming, and this is where I mentioned this after session to the player, the part that really got to Nilla, like when she logged out and he goes through the next day for episode 15, was that the screaming did not line up with the kids. It was the screaming of all of her guild members dying in the when they were attacked by the guild
in the death
hall
game.
in the actual death game. The screams were not screams of
So
children, but of adults and teenagers that were just going to a guild hall to relax in.
okay, this just gives me a dumb thought. I now want to see like some like 12-year-old come in just like I somehow survived the death game. I'm now in hard mode and I'm a master rogue or some shit like that. Or
Uh,
just someone with like druid powers because puppies are cute.
fair.
Yeah.
And this, I believe, was also Nilla's
Uh
first fail, where she believed in the memories. She had the same symptoms Yuto did, where
uh-huh.
she became the massive LARPer, because she thought it was her world and everything. The memories were actually solid in her mind. She got done with the training, and she was the loyal soldier of the sovereign, and she was there to get a job done. And
Mhm.
by the time they got back to the Omamori, uh, Nilla and Jinsei were talking and reminiscing of their past. Jinsei was doing his best to make it sound like it lined up with the game lore, but was talking about his actual memories. And Nilla was obviously responding, and it was just them connecting again. Sadly, under circumstances where it wasn't truly her at the wheel. But once they got to the
Uh
Omamori, and they were, I believe that was when you guys were turning it in for the day, so everyone could log out, go home, is when she got back, like, to her right mindset, and she turned
yeah,
around
it
to
was
everyone and was like, I'm back. Holy shit, is that how you guys feel?
it was like somebody brought up you got somebody waiting at home. What? No, I don't. Oh right, I was
Yeah,
I,
it was,
I
oh
am
yeah, you got,
engaged. I am going to
yeah,
have a baby.
you got
Whoa.
Patva waiting for you at home. But that version of her was like, what do you mean? That's a few hours from here. Thinking like traveling to the first floor and stuff, and then
Yeah.
stopped and was like, wait, I was just talking to her a few minutes ago. Oh, that's right, I'm engaged to her. Oh, I'm back.
Yep. Is that what happened?
Yeah, that is
My
exactly
gosh,
how it
guys.
happened. It's just more her breaking out of it was the slow realization as the effects naturally wore off. Because it took hours to go back to the
Yep.
town, and nothing was being said out of place too many times for the brain to try and force it through. It was actually naturally just written.
Yeah.
Uh, the next bit was you guys logging off. Hold on. I think this was before or after Terry got her cutscene. I think it was after, where Nilla had logged on and actually shared with everybody that Patva proposed to her, and they were engaged now. Then it was the
Uh,
quest, because she
they
wanted to
were
go with Terry to go do her quest, but Jinsei voted against it because he knew if Nilla started gushing, she wouldn't shut the fuck up and get what needed to be done. Which she agreed,
and
yes, that would have been the case. And Terry then also said, but I also want to go do this by myself. I think I can handle it because I have AoE spells and the enemies don't seem to be fast.
I have AoE spells. I can make a lot of fire. They're fat. They're not fast. And also, I literally just got powerful one-on-one powers.
Yeah, which is why they allowed you to go do that, and they went. to go
Yeah.
do the whole quest and met up with the other two outside of it and watch that fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. After you guys logged off, this is where the major bit of the session is going to be, and will probably take an hour. I hope it takes an hour. Takes an hour to discuss and like properly consider it. This is where people log off, and Crystal is there, and the whole interrogation bit of like, how's Yuto, where he is, who he's with, and not
Yeah.
sharing exactly everything. I will share what I discussed with Mobius Finrear, the player of Jinsei. Me and him got to talking about it, and I say that whole bit with Crystal, like with the interrogation and like the whole sad bit, I say that could be retconned. Not because it wasn't a good scene or that it had too much conflict, but because of something that was mentioned after that session by Rackness, the player of Nilla, was that it didn't necessarily need to happen, and that even though I told them I had planned it ahead of time, which they said it was fine, but Ragnus also shared that they was going to try and make it a happier session because the last few were a little depressing near the end. So they wanted to make it happier. Which I told them fair enough. It was not supposed to be intended that way. Because even myself as the DM, like I expect to know my players, and I expect how certain things may go. I will admit, like I may show like surprise, like, oh, okay, yeah, let's do this. It's not because like I'm surprised because I didn't expect them to do it. It was surprise that, oh shit, it makes sense, and that'd be pretty fucking cool to do. Because I expect my players to pull something out of their ass and probably make something cool out of it.
Yeah.
That session near the end, I 100% did not expect players to interrogate Crystal at all. Because she was just there to check up on everyone, check up on her daughter, and then leave. She was not there to be interrogated about her husband. She did not. And for those watching, they're like, "Oh, it's just a fake character. Why do you like act like she's real?" Well, when I make characters, especially this character Crystal, who is the wife of Yuto, I make her a person. Like I made Yuto a person. They have their own personalities. They have their own morals, somewhat shared with mine, but still different enough. Crystal is basically like a half-breed German raised in America that moved to Japan that has a mixed bag of morals. In Germany, they do have like this morality of like being loyal to your husband, which is not talking about his business and not assuming he's doing things behind your back, and or well, that's more American. It's not sharing your husband's business with anybody. If you cannot have faith in your husband enough where you can't keep his secret, that is like a form of disloyalty to him. You're not a loyal wife. And I think that's more like their older traditions of that, but I kind of liked that mentality that they had. I don't think they practice it as much in their culture now. But the whole point of like, if you can't keep your husband's business to himself and yourself, and you like let it slip, even if it make you feel concerned for him, that is a form of disloyalty. So she has that kind of like teaching from her parents, and then she has the teaching from America where it's like, if you cannot trust your husband to not cheat behind your back, and like you have to talk about him behind his back, that's disloyal. If and you have to talk to his friends behind his back about it, that can also be seen as like disrespectful to him. So like she has all of these things in her head that's like, I can't do this, or I am not loyal to my husband. I have to be careful what I have to say. I have to be careful how I present it. She believes she has a lot of responsibility on her shoulder to Yuto, who she decided to marry. So like, even though he's in a hard time, she had a lot of stress on her shoulders. That's why she was just supposed to be there and leave. When she was interrogated, how I pictured it was, she was doing her best to keep herself together that entire time and not cry in front of everybody. Because in that moment, she felt worthless. Because she couldn't fix a problem that she wanted to fix. But she didn't want to fix it by betraying Yuto. That's why originally it was Nilla went to go support her as she cried as everyone else left. Because she legit couldn't hold it any longer. Because she felt like she did something wrong. That she couldn't have helped. Despite originally thinking she was doing what all she could to help. She was made to believe she was worthless at that moment and could do nothing. Even though just Seth and Yuto, or not Seth and Yuto, Seth and Jin, I fucking did it like you guys do. Seth and Jinsei were just worried for him. And the one thing that Mobius brought up was he kind of dealt with a similar situation of like not everything being said with a friend, IRL, like our actual real life, a day prior to the session. So he honestly believed that he took it a little too personally and might have broke a little from character as Jinsei. Like he admitted he still tried to stay in character, but he believed that he made it go a little too far. And made it a little too personal.
Yeah. Understandable.
And he says he is alright if that bit is retconned. But he did question me like, well, why don't you just go ahead and retcon it? Which I told him, I'm not just going to retcon it because I believe it should be. Because I had, and I guess you guys get to hear a little horror story of D&D from me. I had a DM that never asked us what we wanted or our opinion on something. Like he would make a game, we'd play it for probably a month or two, drop that game, remake a new one just a few weeks later, and then have us play that one. All were still based in the same homebrew world he made, but we would be dropping characters, remaking new ones in a totally different part of that world and trying something else.
I will admit I am somewhat guilty of this myself.
Yeah, but you weren't this guy. You know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
And the stuff he made that was homebrew, he never asked our opinion. Like, he would ask, like, oh, does this seem cool? And that's it. He would not take our criticism of, like, it should probably be rebalanced. It probably should be this so it's not too strong. He didn't listen to it till after he finished it. We played it a little bit, and then took our criticism. So, I told Mobius, like, I had a GM that did this, and that's why I don't just want to do it, even if I believe it would make me happy. I'm only going to do it after I get everyone's opinions, because some people might actually want that to stay in the episode, believing that is how people naturally work, which in reality it is. That is how people would have reacted in a situation like that. But I also want to see if there's more opinions on retconning it because it was unnecessary at that moment or it could have been done better. I'd rather hear that than just do it myself, not get opinions, and anger people.
Yeah.
And I know everyone
Understandable.
personally in this party, in this group. So I'd rather get those opinions with friends to not even upset my friends or make them feel like I don't care about what they say. Because they know I fucking care.
If anything, I'm still probably the one probably the least here, and even then, what I wear myself on my sleeves,
Yes,
so
obviously. You
not that
definitely
hard to
do.
figure
More
things out.
than the rest of us do, in all honesty. So
I,
that's what I wanted to bring up to you guys, is if we retcon that bit. And if you have
I
things to share before you give your final decision, that is fine too.
I will personally say I do not. You can retcon this. I am perfectly fine with whatever retcons if it has affected other members of the party or you. I am fine with it. I just unfortunately personally don't have as much say in what happens with this scene because my character was not there, and during most of it I wasn't as much there either. But I definitely know that it had seemed way more like I could also tell at the time that more of the players were more serious than they usually are. Like, Jin said. Like I
Oh,
could hear
I thought you were gonna say
almost
Seth. I was
irritation.
gonna agree with you.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, you too. But like again, my attention wasn't all here. But Jinsei, Mobius does play the serious character here a lot. But I don't know. Uh, what I heard intermingled with tuning out, you guys did sound way more like it was way more than a game, I guess I should say. And yeah, that's
I
my
mean, if you want to retcon it, ultimately it's up to you. Um, I will say, me and Jinsei did probably go into it a little harder than we needed to, but I mean, it is what it is, my guy.
All right. Anything else you have to say about that? Any opinions? What you felt about that
I mean, I,
scenario?
I mean, I got no opinions. I mean, when we were going into it, I mean, again, Jinsei and Seth were mostly just worried about Yuto, because Yuto gets into his
yeah.
headspace and tries to go and fight it alone, that kind of thing, you know. But I mean, that is, in a sense, who Yuto is. You know, we kind of, I understand we can't always be there to sort of help him through his his mental space. So we definitely probably should not have pried so much.
All right.
But yeah, that's all. That's all. That's all I gotta say on that one.
All right. But sadly, I'll have to say it's not going to be the you do what you do in the end. I will need an actual vote from you, bud. I need
I
your.
gave you my next one.
Oh, what did you vote on?
I said it was fine. You can retcon it. It is what it is.
Uh, I'm more seeking a yes or no from you, bud. I'm sorry.
I gave you a yes.
Okay.
I said yes.
Just how you worded it is more like a I'm neutral on this
It.
kind of answer.
I am more neutral on it because I'm one of those people. I mean, take into consideration, game one that nobody got to see. I put a lot on you with just throwing you into helping me with Grim. It is what it is. I'm gonna go with the flow regardless of whether you retcon anything or not. I'm just impartial as to whether I feel it should be retconned or not. I don't mind either way. I can continue playing the game as if nothing happened. But my answer is yes. You can retcon it.
Okay. Because I only reason I considered that being the retcon, I might be, fucking saying it, just repeating myself, uh, is mostly because, again, the talk with Rack afterwards, it did actually got me thinking and saying, yeah, that could have happened at a different time with probably moments before you two came home. That probably would have been better. It could have been even Seth went to Yuto's house, or Crystal asked Seth to come over and talk to him about it. Or
Yeah.
or Seth came over and then questioned her about it, but probably not became as interrogating as it was. Like, I could have made it any number of scenarios where it probably could have been better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely could have been chiller. Could have been a much more chill conversation.
All right. All right. So we have basically, and I'm not getting Rack in here because I basically already had his opinion from after episode 14, which again he doesn't blame me
Yeah.
for it because he knew that I had already somewhat planned it ahead of time, so he has nothing against me for that. That was the first thing he asked me, was like, was this planned ahead of time, or did I do something where you try and like get back at me for? Which I told him, like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't see why I would use a game to get back at you. If you pissed me off, I'll straight up tell you you pissed me off, and then we'll talk it out. So I'm sorry if you felt that way. And yes, it was planned ahead. Which he said, all right, that's fine. I feel a lot better. But it did kind of feel like, with how it was set up, with like the whole Patfin proposed to Nilla, and then that happening, and it, which, in full honesty, I was hit with that mid game in a private DM, and when I
Mm-hmm.
was hit with that, and it was shortly after that that Nell brought it up. I was like quietly like uh considering in my head and be like, oh shit, I did not expect that to be brought up after what I just had planned or when they log off, I'll try and make it work. Because that's where my brain instantly goes. I'll try to make it work together. Because I want the players to have something included, but I also don't fully want to change my plans altogether. Which I do believe
Yeah.
I need to work on that. Sometimes I do need to throw my own plans out the window. Because if it's going to bring conflict like it did, where a player questioned if I was angry with them and trying to get at them for something, and that it caused a discourse that did somewhat disturb players afterwards, including the DM. Yeah, I need to try and find that balance of, all right, a player wants to do this, and it's more of like a flavor texty, happy joy moment, but I already planned this somewhat sad moment to happen. I should probably throw it out the window and just have the happy stuff happen. But of course, trying to balance that, especially with like my DMing style, is going to be difficult to try and do. Because improv out the ass. Not the best way you should ever DM, but I somehow make it fucking work. I'll need to try and find a balance for that too, because DMing, you're always learning. I've been at this since 2013, and I've done nothing but get better. I've done nothing but understand limits and trying to find the comfort zones of players. And this stuff does eventually come up. It does. And this is more of a what is it? A PSA?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, this is more of like a PSA for like to other people that's wanting to be like a dungeon master or has a dungeon master that seems to be if you can notice it, having somewhat of like emotional trouble with current situation in the game, to make sure they talk to their players about what's disturbing them, or if you're the DM, you talk to your players if like, hey guys, do you feel like this could have done better? Please seek it out. Because it is better to outright ask the player or ask your DM if they're okay, or if like, did you think this should have been done differently? What's affecting you? So at least they can get it off their chest if they're willing to talk about it. Because without that communication, it will just build up and make things worse. Now, of course, I will say communicating will not always be the best solution, because sometimes it could just be the DM had a bad day and it affected his DMing, and he could have just told people, just, hey, I had a bad day. Sorry, the session was a little shittier than usual. And if like you ask us, so like, hey, what's wrong? If he says like, it's nothing to be worried about, I'll get over it. Sometimes that will be the case. I have a friend out there where when he gets into major depressional episodes where it could go suicidal, his way of stopping that is actually dropping all communication. Now, in normal situations, you would be like, don't let him do that. He might kill himself. For this one particular friend of mine, that actually prevents him from doing suicide. Because how his brain functions in that moment is the depression and suicidal thoughts are fueled by information overload, by people constantly talking to him. It just puts more onto the pressure and anxiety because now he has to think about the people that are worrying about him, which just adds pressure onto him of like him being a shithead or being a terrible friend, etc. So he has to cut off all communication and actually just be in complete silence to get better, which is somewhat what I base Yuto off of with certain things. Whenever he is like extremely depressed, he's not going to go like by himself and cut off, he will talk to people, especially Nilla. That in I believe it's one of the post episodes where they talk about Rabbit. Like that's his telltale sign of like, hey, I'm super depressed. It might be going suicidal. I need to talk to somebody. But whenever Yuto has to leave to get his head straight, like a lot of emotional stuff happened. It's after his little like depression talk, and it's still affecting him, but at least he has like closure of like he has friends supporting him and helped him get some of his thoughts through, but it's still lingering and causing him to not think completely straight or lose sleep over. He goes out to the countryside to as the videos state, to visit his grandparents, which is visiting the graves of his grandparents and his mother, while staying at his cousin's house. He is going out there to be alone, to collect his thoughts, simply as that. To calm himself down, putting himself in a quiet, beautiful place, in the countryside, visiting the people that he loved in his life. And this is where some lore bits will be dropped before the rest of the party knows. So you two will be the first in the party to know this, except for Rak. Rak also knows this information. Yuto's mother died in childbirth, so he never grew up with a mother. And he somewhat wishes he could have been. And is partially also why he despises his dad. Because he knows his dad is being overprotective because he lost his wife to give birth to his son. And so his son is now the most precious thing in the world to him. But he's also pushing his son to get used to killing for like self-defense and such, so he doesn't have to keep protecting his son in that matter, but also in doing so is going against his son's wishes and causing a rift between them.
Yeah.
So it's just a father trying to protect his son the best ways he knows, but it just ends up ruining that relationship despite the love and tender care that was there.
hmm I kind of get that definitely.
So
I'm
that's what Yuto is going through. And that's why he does the whole like going to the countryside.
Mhm.
He needs the peace and quiet to keep his thoughts straight and to come to a conclusion. Not because he's depressed, might be going suicidal. Which I also shared with Mobius, like how Yuto thinks and why he goes there. I did not share to him about, the whole mother thing and anything else. You
Yeah.
guys plus Raknus are the only players that know this information. That Yuto's mom died at childbirth.
So half the party.
Yeah, half the party.
Uh I will say uh uh, part of this is just like something I will have pointed out in episode 22 when that gets around to being uploaded is that throughout this whole thing, I've been I brought it up that these guys, everyone here except Veronica, has is like people going on their second journey, like they like as if they've gone through an arc before and are going through another one again, and I am feeling like I'm just brand new here with like going through my first thing. Like I've had a backstory for Tyrion the Death game, but nothing like on the level of these guys. And they've been helping me out. With that in making Tyrion feel like a little bit more in the world, like with things with Otakamaru. But and but it is things like with this Yuto thing that I I empathize with Yuto. I but I can't do it as much as everybody else here can. Because I haven't been with him as long or been part of his story for as long.
Yeah, which
And
his story has been
or
around
just
for a
this group,
very long time.
like, or even part of this group as long. For those that don't know, the only person, like the only people aside that I knew in this group coming in were Mike and Rack.
Yeah, you
So
didn't know Mobius, or you somewhat knew Happy, but it was like he was only in Sterling server.
yeah,
That's all you knew about him, truly.
yeah. And I love all of them, I just still feel like the new kid on the block. And all of this seriousness coming from characters that I still don't quite feel like I know because something new is being brought up every session from their old adventures. It has honestly been daunting, and I've been trying to keep track, but like, and I don't mean this as like a I don't care. I genuinely do. It's that it is a little much. It has always been a little much, so I tend to sit in the back seat for when things like this occur because I don't know what I'm supposed to do in this situation.
Yeah, fair enough. And I'm sorry you're put in that kind of like position of like you don't know what
It
to
is
do.
fine.
But I also like it that like you do sit out of it because it also gives you time to like realize the story and
Yeah.
probably figure out how to hop in later once Terry is more fleshed out.
Yeah.
We're at higher levels.
And
And she
yeah.
actually
And
feels like her being part of the puzzle finally. Rather than just
yeah.
a piece that was a
And
spare.
but yeah, and when it comes to Tiri, uh it feels like a kind of theme with the main party is that they're calling back to pet. Uh, Hi Mobius,
Hello, Jinsei.
that they are calling back to their past stuff and revisiting things and taking down those like this isn't a 100% thing, that is just how it does kind of feel every so often. Meanwhile, I'm made Tiri for this, like for her arc, for her character arc to happen during this game. Uh, Regarding thing to do with hard mode, as opposed to the preamble that I given about Death Game.
All right, and to catch you up, Mobius, since you just joined in the middle, we just recapped the main major points of episode 14. Uh, Brought up the whole the crystal scenario, what everyone's thoughts are on it. So far, it's a unanimous vote of retconning it. Which, if I remember correct from mine and your conversation, which I did bring up during this, did you say you wanted to retcon it, or did you say you were fine with it as it being?
I mean, I hinted at it being retconned, but I guess I didn't answer clearly. So I'll do it now. Get rid of it.
Okay. I mean, I thought
I mean,
that was your vote anyways. I just wanted to double check with you to make sure I remembered correctly.
I know, like, I know I didn't say it very clearly when we last talked. So yeah.
All right. And I did share. We are recording this. It is pre-recorded. We're not live. I did share with him that you had a scenario that was very similar to the whole like keeping secrets and not saying everything the day before when episode 14 was streamed. So you got a little what you believed was you got a little too personal with it and possibly went a little out of character, if not made the character get a little too emotional at the stature at the point. And I'm
I'm gonna tell
correct
you
when I
right
say
now.
this, right?
I'm gonna tell you right now. You're only correct on the latter half of that.
Okay. I was trying to remember fully, and I knew that like it was that because the situation happened before the stream started, like the previous day, it did bring something up in you. I believe that's how you worded it. And that it
Well,
influenced the game at that moment.
actually, it wasn't just before we started the stream. It was actually like weeks before that happened.
Oh, okay.
It was like
When we talked, you made
it
it
was
sound like
something.
it was the day before.
Yeah, no, like to clarify, yeah, that was an issue that I was having a few weeks ago. And the topic has been brought up not by me, but by the person in question. Um, it was like described very vaguely, but they refused to give me any further context as to what exactly was going on. So it was very frustrating considering how close we were at the time. But in the end, I just left it alone.
Yeah, and then this scenario happened with Crystal, and it basically felt like the same, and it just brought that frustration back.
Yeah.
And we were also going like a whole PSA of like, do talk to your players or your DM if there seems to be emotional like disruption from the session. Be like, hey, did you want to possibly do this differently? Were you not happy with what happened? But I also had to share like communicating may be good, especially in a D&D party. There are some cases where communicating does not help at all, and I gave an example with one of my friends that I've known. And I also told him like how Yuto's mindset was. When he's super depressed and possibly suicidal, he does go to you guys to talk. But when he just needs to clear his head after said events happened, and it's still affecting his mind, he just needs to go somewhere quiet to think. I explained that to these two party members, which is Happy and Pokemon, as you heard Pokemon, and basically just
I
letting the audience also know like how Yuto works that in that sense.
Uh-huh.
And Pokemon was just talk about how he is in a party of people who's already had their characters developed in an arc, and now they're going into their second one, excluding Veronica. And he kind of feels like he's a piece of the puzzle that doesn't fit, or a spare piece of the puzzle where he's doesn't really feel like he fits in character wise, and they're still going through their first arc. And a lot of the information that's
that
being brought up is a little daunting.
I will say again about that. It is definitely daunting, but when it comes to Tiri, I really don't I don't want to half-ass it and make up like a full arc to make it feel like I'm catching up with you guys. That is absolutely not what I want to do. Hard mode is what I want to have for arc, and I want to do it alongside you guys. So I am trying to pick up what I can pick up from everything.
Uh, what Mango? I gotta ask you.
Yeah.
Is at this current moment, is Jinsei the only one to discuss with Terry in like the past of everybody? Like,
Yuto's mentioned some bits, but he never went in like
Yeah.
full depth. I think Jinsei is the first one to go somewhat full depth. Maybe not completely full in
Yeah.
depth, but definitely gave a lot more context.
Yeah, definitely. Tiri's also the only one aside from Yuto that knows his name, Jinsei's name, as Daisuke.
Yuto's
Wait.
name is Daisuke.
Or not
My-
Kenji.
My IRL
There
name
you
is
go.
Kenji.
Yeah, no, he got it. He said Kenji. He just got it confused again.
Now, this time I'm confusing their IRL names, not their usernames.
Yup.
Different this time.
It's all right.
But yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking to sort of help, Thierry gain a better understanding of why the group is the way they are sometimes, is to maybe have people just sit down and talk with Thierry from time to time and divulge tidbits of their past experiences from the death game to the strange scenario in ALO when Yuto was an NPC.
We could actually do that as like a side thing.
We could do that as like a filler session.
If not a
Like,
filler session, a little side series. Probably.
I was gonna say, I think we should like
Yeah.
do another one of these talk episodes where we just talk about the characters.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
not just like have a
Uh,
session, but like sit down and actually talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh shit! There it is. Woo! That was close.
Are you all right?
Did you say a deer?
Yeah, there was a deer in the middle of the road. I had to stop for a second so it could get away.
Fuck.
Oh dear, that would have been bad.
God
But,
damn it happened.
Face full
Yeah,
of
it would
venison.
be
Dude,
fun to-
my dad
Like-
jokes have been on point the last few days.
I will say what the things Turi knows about the party right now is just their current IRL situations aside, like kind of aside from Jinsei. She now knows about Shida, like basic things with Shida. She knows Yuto was an alpha tester and that his gear had the original death code that still carried over. For if I recall, it was their gun gale thing.
Yes.
And she knows bits and rumors about things in the death game along with the cutscene that was shown during the monk thing.
Yeah. And also like the small tidbits of oh yeah, like they threw that grenade at you. And we don't talk about the terrorist attack.
Or the fact
Oh
that,
yeah,
I wasn't killed by so many fucking bullets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the terrorist attack part was the
Meanwhile-
only thing still left unexplained to her.
Yeah.
Which I
Tiri-
find hilarious.
Like, listen. When Yuto was gonna tell Tiri about the alpha test thing, it was like, okay, I'm gonna tell you something. Seth is just like, if it's private, we should probably go to my place. We go to their place. Tiri just looks at Yuto like, okay, this isn't something that if I say anything, I'm gonna be shot on the spot from like 5 different angles, am I? Yuto's like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Tiri's hyperactive imagination, fueled by anxiety.
Oh
Which,
damn!
by the way, I should clarify to any audience watching, I don't use Tiri's anxiety as like a parody. A lot of what is involved with her, I do genuinely feel. I don't use it as a means to insult anyone. It is just a slight over exaggeration of myself. I try to keep myself together a bit better. But yeah. And honestly, Tiri is kind of also a reflection of me when it comes to like over time when it comes to D&D, I have become more and more passive and reactionary because a lot of the time whenever I would do stuff, I would either fuck up because I didn't say something like my Not saying that my incredibly smart sorcerer would have read the contract she was signing, and now that entire character's thing in the campaign is that she's a fuck up. 4 years later. And it's just a culmination of that stuff. I have become a less proactive player. And that has reflected in a lot of my characters also becoming shy and less proactive and being more in the background waiting for other PCs to take the lead.
Which
I've been doing better recently, but
yeah, which I do
that
want to
isn't
bring up on that as well, since I am in one game. I think the exact game of 4 years later is treated as a fuck up. That is the
Yep.
same game I'm in, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is Sai.
Okay, yeah. I do want to say, when I joined the game, and like that was the thing that I was first, like I believe that was like first thing I was actually like introduced to, was that Sai was being treated like a fuck up. Purposeful first character I made was a Minotaur gladiator that fell in love with her.
Yep.
And
then immediately died the next session.
I think it was the next 2 sessions, because he was like there for like 3 or 4 sessions. But he fell in love with her on first sight, wrote a poem about her, but was too shy to give it to her, and had the goddess of poetry that was on their boat with them look it over, like said it was amazing piece, fully gave her blessings to give it to Sai for him, which he wasn't sure when to give it to her, so he would tell the goddess when he felt was the time needed. And then later,
then he
when
died.
then they went to go and like help out with some Amazons in an island, and he died fighting for everyone to escape. He literally was in the center of all the like real big bad enemies, while the smaller ones being cleared out, kept falling unconscious, but using his reaction to push them and do some minor damage, getting back up, getting hit again, knocked down, reaction, push, and deal damage. And it happened, I think, like 3 or 4 times, till finally the party was like, we're running out of slots to keep healing him. We can't save him at this point.
And Sai has died by then.
And Sai has nearly died by then, because she hasn't died officially just yet. But she was unconscious, about to die. Or no, she did die.
Yeah,
she was revived. You're right.
Yeah.
And Sai died somewhere in that point, but was revived. But for my character, the Minotaur gladiator that fell in love with her, that was a bard. The party, and this is all homebrew. I believe it was it's the Thylia campaign setting.
Odyssey of the Dragon Lord.
Thank you. It was Odyssey of the Dragon
For
Lords.
audience wondering.
And one of the druids was the Circle of Sacrifice, and they have a feature where they can kill a creature, but like if they kill them, it goes to their god's domain or something like that, to like a heaven. And they did that.
Yep.
And killed my my bard, so his soul wouldn't be claimed by the evil forces that was in the land, and sent him to a heaven, so his soul could not be destroyed or used as fuel. And that's when, and like before that fully happened, the goddess of poetry, while invisible, snatched the poem from his pocket and gave it to Sai after she was resurrected. And because of the new character I had to make after that, saw and heard like how much of the my previous character was respected by the party. She went and had a party of Amazons go and retrieve the bard's weapon, which was a trident, and gave it to Sai as a gift.
Yep.
which she still carries
And
today.
I will say, yep, and I will say Sai's, in when Sai read that poem, Sai is like, she's literally destined to die. Like, she's one of those tropes that you're destined to die, you gotta figure out how to not.
I did not die.
But in but throughout the campaign, she is had to leave every so often because I can't be there. I used to be the most absent player, and then we have Mike. I mean, what?
Eh.
What the fuck?
That said, my track record is still probably worse than yours. I'm a sorcerer that is built like a wizard, and I am not a good people person talker. I don't think I need to say things through a lot. So when I'm accidentally when I let it slip that the egg we're looking for is a dragon egg, and I didn't realize, like, it wasn't informed to me that the elementals I'm talking to didn't know it was a dragon egg. I feel like I fucked up. Not my character, I fucked up. And it got to the point where the entire point of the entire thing of the character, to the point where the god of death was taunting her before her revival, is that she is nothing but a failure. And
Oh.
then Sai read that poem. She fucking cried.
Because somebody believes she wasn't a failure.
Mm-hmm. And that was the like her thing. I had like retroactively thought was that she knew she was doomed. She was not going to try fighting fate. She knew she was doomed. So her main focus was not on herself, it was on the party. On keeping them alive to make sure they fulfilled their destiny. Reading that poem, yep, she wanted to live now.
I actually have the poem still, if you guys want me to read it out loud.
We've already gone on enough tirades here.
I mean, trust me, I think people would love to know what the fuck was this poem to make your character want to live.
Yeah.
Owned by me.
Basically, he could have wrote down, I love her in not even English, and she probably still would have had the same effect.
So, I mean, I won't read it unless you guys want to, get off the tangent and stuff. But, like, if you guys want to actually hear the poem that he wrote for her. Like, if you guys are honestly curious to hear it.
Me?
I heard a I mean from Jinsei.
I'm calling for Happy.
Oh, Happy? I think he's on walkies. Yeah, it's 1 o'clock. He's probably on walkies. Or he's talking to someone.
Man, I'm tearing up talking about Tyrion Sai. And also Sai, for those curious at home, 2 years after that point, currently, Sai still feels like a failure.
Alright. Happy's actually getting a little tired while at work. He's going to take a quick nap.
Okay. But, Sai... Yeah, I'm just gonna say to punctuate my thing with that character. And I actually mentioned before the name Sai as the personality I want to give to the scribe. I I think the best way I can put it is I want the scribe to be if Sai wasn't a fuck up. If Sai was actually a character that I wholeheartedly enjoy. Because at this point, like, I've had terrible characters in the past, and Sai is not among them. But of the D&D characters I'm playing right now, she is by far my least favorite.
All right. So Jitsu, what was your vote on the poem?
I guess go for it.
All right.
Go for it if you still want.
Its title is The Great Angel. Found at sea of vile.
Characters Nazamar for those.
Yeah, it was an Azamar race for those who don't fully know D&D. The poem starts as found at sea of vile serpents, shining bright as a morning star, held aloft on wings of golden glory, matured and wizened. Knowledge flows as a calm river in and out of her marbled face, beauty and youth retained. Nothing of worth do I have to be in her presence. Hard shall I work, blood and sweat being the price, to behold and enjoy the great angel. Shall I die for her, the true honor I seek, attained it shall be as I return to my mother's arms. No word shall ever breathe my affection. My actions are clammed with my weakness. No man shall I ever be, to say the love that blossoms in the heart of a chained fool.
Yeah.
I got 3 things to say about that.
Mm-hmm.
Mod him, VIP him, give him a sub.
I will say, when you repeated the wizened part, my first thought was, ha!
I know, I heard the snicker. But of course, this was a somewhat
Yeah.
arrogant
Love-struck
person. Or no, arrogant person. He was arrogant. Like, he didn't truly know everything. This is what he assumed based on the power of the party. And the ability to cast magic.
Yeah. But yeah, as I said, the scribe is honestly what, like, I hadn't actually talked to you about it, Mike, but my intent with, like, making this RPing the scribe the way she is, I have been, is almost to make Sai, but the competent arcane master that I initially thought her as, rather than the complete fuck up that she ended up being.
Fair.
Personally, I think it's a great idea.
Now, yeah, honestly, it is a great idea. And now that you actually have, one, experience with Sai, and now that you're playing Tiri and her alternate personality in these memory things, the scribe is basically just Sai with a lot more confidence. Yeah, I think you'll do an excellent job with playing as the scribe if a memory thing happens.
Yeah.
But of course, you gotta fail to do that.
Yeah. Or pull a Seth and just choose to fail for whatever reason.
He actually didn't choose to fail for that. He realized what I meant afterwards. But he didn't choose to fail. The option was choose to fail. But he did choose decide against it because, like, this kind of is against the character of Seth, who doesn't like these memories overwriting stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, because knowing Happy and having played with him before, he likes trying to stay in character, but sometimes he forgets how his character is sometimes. And he forgets like what they've said previously before that defines their personality and like what kind of person they are. Because he's also very used to being somewhat more chaotic in certain decisions when he plays video games like Dark Souls. Like, he'll say one thing and then do the complete opposite a few days later.
Sounds like a certain pyro.
Exactly. But, like, he doesn't intend to. So, like, with him, I have to make sure, like, hey, you gotta remember, this is how you're playing this character. You can't just flip-flop like you usually do when you play games. But,
I typed that one right to you because I don't want to entirely say it right in episode 14, quote unquote, because I want people to see what happens
yeah.
in 22
But,
and yeah.
But now that we, because we gone off on our tangent, and shared the little PSAs and all that we wanted to share, and get people to understand the situation and have ourselves get back into a better mood after talking about it. With the crystal event retconned, how I'm going to play it out. And I'll even tag the players and tell them what's retconned in episode 14. So if it does get brought up again, they know it's like, okay, this is what we need to reference. Instead of the whole crystal thing happening, it's you guys log off and you just spend some more time at Nilla's to have dinner, congratulate her and Patfa for their engagement, and just talk about old times of like Patfa repairing gear and such, and how Patfa did help out in a few dungeon runs because she had a tidbit of information that no one else had of how it should properly go, or an easy way of getting extra materials for that dungeon.
I should also bring up because I know you haven't started editing episode 15 yet. Uh in this case you should probably edit out the start of
Oh,
the thing because
I already did that. It's gonna be It's gonna be a mix of an editor's note and just a bit of an editor's note of like, hey,
because
this happened in 14. We lost the footage. This is being retconned. It's just someone texted him last night and he didn't check it. I
yeah,
already have
I was
15 planned for editing in the beginning.
I was meaning more that because Tiri didn't log off the same time as everybody else. She logged off a couple hours later to Nilla and Padfa comforting Crystal and
If we get to that bit, I might just mute it and just type what happens and
yeah,
state that due to episode 14's file corruption, we changed a few things.
yeah,
So it'd just be like a drawn out scene of just text on screen explaining, all right, this didn't happen. It is being replaced with this. So everyone else would have left after just eating, and when you got off, you basically just spent time with them gushing about the whole
the baby thing.
the proposal and learning about how the two met in the death game, how they became so close together, how they helped each other out, and most likely how Yuto helped support pay for Patfa's forge and got it the best like the best resources possible that he could, and had nearly went not bankrupt, but nearly lost all of his money in doing so. which was shortly before the traveling Merchants Guild became a thing. Because the moment Yuto nearly lost all his money is when people start just giving him money and saying, hey, let's just trade. You give us these materials, we give you this materials. No money involved. And which eventually led to the Traveling Merchants Guild.
Yeah. But
Gonna go dark for about 5 to 10 minutes. I'm gonna shower.
That's fine.
by the way, Mike, I will also say if you're curious why in my head it had been like what I was saying about like the scribe and Sai earlier, that is kind of why for a good amount of time I'd had this picture in my head of the scribe as almost a separate entity. Like part of that of like it's me trying to fix the intent of an old character. Kind of why I was feeling like had a vision in my head of like Tiri at some point interacting with the scribe somehow. Just like that this is just me giving you an explanation for that stuff, like why
Yeah.
it was
But to be honest,
why
how
I was in that head.
let's get some background information to the audience as well. How I treated the whole memory versions of everyone. I just made it where I take their base personalities and just tweaked it a little bit where it still would have the same personality as the person, but now there's slightly different morals to them. Like with the scribe, with her, it's more the personality was slightly tweaked. Their morality hasn't really changed, other than I'll still do the deed, even though I personally don't feel like doing it, or like I don't feel like it's the right deed to do. Like that's the only thing that's different. Because if Tyrion honestly believed it was wrong, she would never do it. The scribe is, I will not do it unless it's an absolute necessary.
Yeah.
And
Like
the scribe is
like
also just
Tiri
a
is
more
the
confident Tiri. Someone who knows what they're doing, who, air quote, didn't need people to get her to where she needs to be. But overall, still the same respectful person.
I've described when it comes to Tiri in general is that when she plays like solo game, like she is hyper efficient, does all the things, no risk involved, times things perfectly, and is an expert in going through games solo. I feel like the scribe and like with size personality is kind of like an extension of that, but as if that was her default mode rather than Tiri going like focused into a video game.
I will say, I do have a memory of the scribe where she's actually just relaxed. And I think you'll find it funny.
Mhm. Oh.
As,
Can't wait to see.
it's basically just the exact opposite of Tiri's hyper-focus mode when playing games. It's when she's actually relaxed, she just doesn't give a fuck anymore. It's like, I want to sleep. Leave me alone. What about I don't want paperwork. I done enough. Let me sleep. Like, not focused at all. She just complains that she wants to sleep and relax.
It's like what about paperwork? Waves hand. a ghost picks up the paper and quill and starts
Yeah, like
writing
minimal effort. She literally just becomes a minimalist when she legit gets time to relax.
It is literally just cast unseen servant, let it do all the work.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I like that, definitely.
Yeah, like, it's hyper-focused, like, get everything perfect mode kind of situation all the time. Then, when she actually gets time to relax, like, there's actually nothing for her to do. It's like, huh. What do I do when I get to this? I guess I could sleep a little more. Not have to get up right away. Does so. Refuses to get up. At all. The side of the scribe that even the scribe didn't know till the fairies gave her a break.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, like for that's how I do the memory people is I keep it the same personality, just give some minor tweaks, and typically have their morals similarly aligned, but to fit the whole culture/story of the game. Like, Nilla is a very loyal person in real life. She will fight for her friends, both in the game and outside of it, and will most likely die for them. As I believe Rack has mentioned before in one of the ending of one of our sessions. I don't know if I kept that part in. I should have. But, so I made Nilla basically almost identical in the whole memory thing, but the only difference is she's more loyal in the sense of duty, rather than loyal in the sense of friendship and camaraderie. She is more soldier than friend when it comes to the mental process.
Oh, my me. What can I say?
Well, you're fine. But yeah,
Hey,
that's
Mr.
the
Popo, can I have a ride to the battle site? Making toast.
Jamaican toast.
All right, thanks. Butter and toast.
But yeah, so there's that. There's what the recon's gonna be. I'm probably gonna make the announcement before session tomorrow. You need to get me those thumbnails. You need to get me
Yes, I
3
do.
actually, because we have the titles for them. I just need to do the editing. Or 15 specifically.
Leedle.
So that's
And then 16 will need a new title for. What was 16 and 17? Was that the sports festival?
yes, 16 was sports festival. And then if I recall towards the end, it was either towards the end of 16 or beginning of 17 that that Jinsei and Yuto went against Kirito.
You mean Seth and Jinsei?
No, I mean cuz
Or no, that was the party. You're right. It was Yuto.
Yeah. Seth went against Kirito in the party. But Jinsei and then Yuto didn't get their turns against him until Sports Fest Day.
Should I stuck around for dodgeball? No, I'm kidding.
But yeah, 17 was also the party meeting, getting strict, getting ready for the the dungeon crawl again. 18 was first part of the dungeon crawl. Well, 19 was. Yeah, 18 through 21 were the dungeon crawl, if I recall.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Jinsei, is there anything you would like to add on to all that was discussed while you were in the shower?
Just a question of just a question of curiosity, actually, because
Okay.
I actually kind of overheard you talking with Pokemon about everyone's alternative selves from the fabricated memories within the hard mode.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious. I'm curious about everyone's reflections because I overheard Nilla's, but I want to know about everybody else. I'm curious what's going on in that brain of yours.
Well, from what you did see of the fake memory Yuto, back during the monk quest, what do you think Yuto's is?
Hmm. If I had to guess, I would say Yuto would probably have the same kind of morals as the Drifter from Destiny 2, only with far less quips and more dangerous deals. 'Ca- I mean that in the sense where he's willing to play both sides. However, he is still trying to do what is right for the people that deserve to live, in a sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And of course, when something like that backfires, based on what we've seen in his monk quest, he tries his best to make it right. Mainly by screwing over the people that are trying to screw him over. In which case, usually results in death.
All right. Yeah, you pretty got it much spot on. The other thing is, instead of his usual, he tries the best to give everyone a good deal and even like some freebies at the beginning. Uh,
Mhm.
the King of Coin he is more about trying to outplay the market, and those good deals he gives at the beginning, it has to be repaid later. Basically, the whole like, I
You
scratch
mean
your
like
back and you scratch mine back later.
Right.
So he's also like a more devious like dealer of what is it I'm trying to think of?
or
Basically, he's kind of like the sneaky businessman.
pull an episode 7 and own the entire first
Yeah.
floor.
Basically, it's like he purposely aims to control things, where Yuto in episode 7 more did that on accident. It was just trying to like get NPC like mob events off of fucking Tiri, and accidentally took
That
over the first
said,
floor.
that said, he had purposely taken over the first floor in the alpha, which, by the way, Tiri still needs to help set up the alpha over at
Actually, in the
Nilla's.
alpha, he didn't have first floor as his designated floor.
Well, we know we know just by his reaction he did control a floor.
He had control of 3. He was helping with their design and bugs. Which he made
I'm meaning
Lindarth,
because
Lindarth, and not another fucking Venice map, like one of the later floors.
oh, that would actually be rad as hell.
Oh.
What, having two Venice floors? No thanks.
I mean,
Redundant
I
design
haven't-
is redundant.
I haven't encountered a Venice floor yet.
It was in the anime. Wait, have you watched
What's
the
a
anime?
Venice floor?
It's the one
Been
where
a
it's
long
mostly
fucking
water, but
time.
there is a town on the water.
Oh, that's right.
It's one of the later floors.
Oh, okay.
My
That's right.
brain is not working with any of this.
Lindarth is like the 35th or 45th. The one I'm talking about is like one of the 50 to 60s. I'd have to look it back up, but it's one of the only other confirmed floors.
Isn't Lindus on floor 44?
Yes, Lindarth is on floor 44. I don't know why I thought it was 45th.
By the way,
'cause
Mike, I just
that's where
realized
Kitty told me at Linda with Elizabeth.
Yes.
something. Tiri has more cantrips prepared, like more cantrips than she does prepared wizard spells.
That makes sense.
Okay, so
Oh, yeah, and I have something to say after episode ends.
well, I don't know how much further the stream's gonna go. So
We'll go ahead and like finish your question thing.
okay.
What do you hold on first? You have seen alternate Jinsei. How do you feel he's different from normal Jinsei normally?
That's honestly, that's actually kind of hard to say because from the way that, like, generally speaking, from the way that I presented him, he was generally the same as normal Jinsei. However, if I really had to point out one particular key difference, was mainly because the alternate Jinsei is a lot more resentful towards the world because of how his own people treated him, simply because he was a different color. Oh. They confused him for the sylphs, and even when they found out that he was not a spy, they still chucked him into a coliseum, where he is essentially forced to basically battle endlessly.
Well,
until
it wasn't they still chucked him in there. It's that once they found out he wasn't, they offered freedom, which was still after a few months.
Right.
Not really excusable reasoning, but still. A lot more reasonable than what you just stated.
It's been a while since I even discussed it, so bear with me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, no, they offered him freedom after a few months. But during those few months, he was just locked in constant battle. And it was because of the ordeal that he went through that
Hold on.
he grew completely.
Before you continue,
What?
I just realized basically the only key difference between normal Jinsei and fake memory Jinsei is fake memory Jinsei actually had to deal with racists. That's essentially what you just fucking told me. And that's hilarious. Fake Jinsei had to deal with racism. The end. Oh. Anyways, go on. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're okay. Oh man. And the
Man, I
funny
love
thing,
it when my key personality difference is that I've had to deal with bigotry. I'm sorry. No, I'm not.
I'm sorry. No, I'm not.
No, you're fucking not. Don't say that. Man, as I was saying though, so, oh, yeah, basically, Jinsei fought like alternate Jinsei fought for his own freedom, you know, even though even though it was his own people who basically put him to trial by combat, which, while definitely badass, is not exactly the way you'd want to set someone
Oh wait,
free.
you were not a fairy at the time, so it technically wasn't even your own people.
I
It's who
wasn't.
you, it's
Pretty
who you chose to become later on in life, because you had a respect for their culture in the end.
Oh, Mike,
What?
I just realized something. There is a setting in the character sheet to make critical damage maximized.
There is?
I'm going to uh it is in the
I'm in a
full-on
character sheet,
settings
so
thing
settings.
in action.
Action.
There is critical. There's critical damage, normal. Critical damage is maximized.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Or no extra damage. I'm going to double check to make sure this will do what I think it'll do.
Yeah, make like crit range 1 and then roll a dice, see what happens.
Yes. Okay. So what it does is it makes the second die when it's rolled into maximum damage.
Okay, so we'll do that for crunchy crits.
That is the crunchy crit.
Okay.
I am so glad I found that.
I'm glad you found
Still
that
hate
too.
these sheets.
Now we need to fix that on all of the SEO sheets.
Ooh, that's gonna
Nope.
take some time.
Not really. It just click button
No,
and switch a
it's
setting.
literally just 2 buttons.
Yeah, 2 clicks, we're done.
By the way, I wanted to let you
Ding,
know that
ding.
after I clicked that and was like, I'm gonna try this, make sure this works. I clicked Blade of the Chosen, nat 20,
Fair.
and I'm like, ugh,
But
Ugh,
but yeah, I should
crunchy.
say go on.
yeah, sorry.
That's fine.
That time I actually am sorry.
I'm gonna slap you. Um. Yeah, no, there's from what I can recall, and from what I can really say off the top of my head, um, pretty much a lot of the key differences between the two Jinseis is essentially how he came into beings, which was, he was confused for himself, and when they found out that he actually wasn't one of them, um, they offered him freedom by trial of combats. And this pretty much made him basically really angry with the world because he didn't even know when he was getting out. And so every day is just another fight for him to the point where it was essentially feeling pointless. It's- it's- He was basically only fighting to survive for seemingly non-existent future outside of the walls of the arena, until of course royalty decided to descend upon him and give him an alternative. They offered him a way out. He wanted to kill her, but he chose not to because he decided to trust her word.
Now, what about the Jinsei before going to Alfheim?
As in, like, the real one?
As in the one who had to watch their father die.
Hmm.
Which
Obviously.
is still fake memory one, sorry.
Okay. I'm glad we had that cleared up. uh.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jinsei. You actually saw your father. No.
Shut the hell up.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Actually, sorry.
I'm gonna bonk you. Essentially,
My
before he went to Alpha, this is just a much younger version of Jinsei. He's extremely inexperienced, which highly contrasts with how Jinsei was in the initial parts of the Death game. Because he carried over whatever experience he had during the beta testing before he found out that SAO was a trap. However, false memory Jinsei in his younger years is completely different. He basically had to rely on somebody else giving him experience, be it either his father or the other knights he had to work with at the time. Seeing his father die, however, essentially made him believe that he was completely alone. And he fell into despair because of that. Yeah. However, obviously, it was Nilla who showed him otherwise, because she was there for him from time to time when his father wasn't. And with his false father dead, he basically only had the allies he made along the way to rely on i.e., the party.
Yeah.
This is just my perspective. I'm sure
E-
Mango
Even
has his own
mm,
sets. What?
you were also willing to sacrifice the shattered remnants of your jade sword in order to save
His
the King
father's
of Coin.
jade sword.
Yeah,
Ah, that's right.
or like the magic within.
To give up the last reminder of his father to
Mm.
heal Yuto.
Right.
Fake
Right.
memory Yuto.
Right. Because that's essentially the only thing his father left behind, his broken sword. And I want to believe that initially, like later on down the line, before Yuto was essentially about to die, that he was eventually going to get that blade repaired, and he would definitely be able to fight as his father did before he died. However, he was able he was willing to give up that last remnant of his father to save his friend. Hell, he would even offer up his own life to save his friend if he was if he still got the opportunity to do so. Which that last part actually kind of aligns with the real Jinsei. He's willing to put his very life on the line to protect those he cares about.
All right. Which, yeah, all that lines up with what I did, where it's slightly different, but still in the end lines up. There was one thing that both of you did not notice, surprisingly.
See? And what is that?
Jinsei was raised as a noble.
Fuck.
His father, despite not being part of the, and this is like a line I actually stated in that memory, despite your father not being an official part of the guard, he is treated as a great swordsman and helps defend the law even when guards do not arrive at, which has given his father a high standing respect with the sovereigns, aka Jinsei, fake memory Jinsei is a noble that does not live the noble life. And his father basically was of a civilian that was treated as a captain of the guard, if not a general, because how well he respected the sovereigns and aided in keeping order. Your family was nobles that lived as peasants. You were humbled nobles.
Shit, I think I can get along with the people of Underworld.
So that was the one thing you guys both didn't notice that I also did to fake Jinsei is he's
Yeah.
he's
To be-
technically of noble birth. So he also
Yeah.
somewhat has the mindset of
And-
a noble.
Yeah, to be completely fair, in my case, there were still a lot of things going on during that session, which I've already talked about in the comment section of episode 12.
Well, this changes a few things.
Yeah.
Oh, there was actually one other thing.
It probably even had probably even hit Memory Jinsei a little harder to go from practically nobility to practically gutter trash in the Colosseum.
Yeah.
I was wondering where that was going to fit in, actually.
What?
Well, think about it this way. Right. Gene saying the Colosseum. Where would that fit? Would it be before he even met everyone? And before or after his father died?
Jinsei in the
because he was-
Colosseum was after, because that's when everyone was teleported to
Yeah.
Alfheim.
So Jinsei, Memory Jinsei, we met in actual like Einkrad, like still that stuff, actual thing.
Uh-huh.
The Colosseum was after the scribe had teleported everyone. Like Yuto about to die was literally like days before the mass teleport, which resulted in Jinsei falling towards the Colosseum route.
Yeah. It was after Yuto being cured. Then it was the mass teleport. And then it was Jinsei being misinterpreted as a sylph spy and then being thrown into the Colosseum. So it's after he's made his friends, which his first friend was Nilla.
Yeah,
was
I was
a-
about to say.
Yeah. Second friend probably would have been Yuto, but a little on edge around him, mostly because like he really likes delving into like economics and money. But beyond that, still had proven to be a reasonable friend. Seth,
Yeah.
at the
Scribe
time
was
in that
dead
memory, most
last.
likely Seth was just more of an acquaintance that you knew was friendly with Yuto, so you were just friendly with him by extension.
Yeah,
By
yeah.
proxy.
Scribe was dead last when it comes to maybe even Veronica.
Yeah,
up
Veronica and
there.
Scribe, no, they weren't your friends, but they were high-ranking people in the military, so you just automatically respected them out of position.
Yeah. With like, I think the only real interaction they would have had is at the sh- the lake.
Yeah, the Lake Maiden.
Yeah,
Okay.
which was like showing, hey, Tiri is the scribe is willing to sacrifice a dragon egg to save the frickin' King of Coin. Sounds yeah, she's
Which
she
which
is
memory Jinsei would know that dragon eggs are highly held artifacts, essentially. Because dragons are one of the most powerful and wisest magical creatures in existence. The first lords of magic, where the scribe is the first mortal lord of magic.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. I could see where things connect.
Yeah. So after that whole
Yeah.
teleport is when he's thrown to that Coliseum.
Okay.
Yeah.
One more thing I wanted to bring out in terms of differences as this is something you're obviously gonna expect, but Jinsei's relationship with his arch nemesis and subsequently antithesis Shida. Yeah. In the original, Shida was a killer that essentially was racking up a body count that was damn near close to Laughing Coffin collectively. Me. And Jinsei felt the need to stop him because he was not only preying on the negative emotions of the other players and subsequently killing them after doing what they asked him to do, but also just because of the fact that after the first time that the two of them clashed in the death game, Shida just practically felt the need to torment Jinsei by hunting down more players and forcing him to spring into action by trying to save as many people as possible from him and failing 75% of the time. All right. However, in the false memories, Shida is aligned with Laughing Coffin, and Jinsei didn't spring into action against Shida until after he killed his father. And it's only through there that things align slightly, but for completely different reasons.
Yeah. For the memory, it was your father had killed one of his closest friends who decided to aid in the Laughing Coffin rebellion. And because I will say Jinsei can assume this. There is another like memory thing that will happen if the right things occur, where it will reveal more. But from just the memory of like his dad dying, Jinsei can assume by the feelings he felt, which is betrayal, sadness, and obviously fucking hatred and vengeance in his heart to get revenge. Uh, he can assume based on like the motions of betrayal and stuff is that Sheeta, the memory Sheeta, was possibly a childhood friend. Just like how their fathers were friends. But of course, opposing, similar lining up, but ideals, but not aligned outcomes of what should happen.
Right.
That's what Jinsei can assume from the feelings he felt in that first memory. And we can obviously say, like, he kept that to himself, because that is something Jinsei would do, to ponder about.
Well, yeah, because it wouldn't be very like him to jump to conclusions.
Yeah.
Like he would need to fit all the pieces of the puzzle together before really making a discussion out of it.
Yeah, so what you feel, what Jinsei feels about, like, that whole point of, like, what their connections are is the Sheena in the game with the fake memories is that they were childhood friends. But it was opposing, I guess it would be opposing ideals. Because in the end, like, it's the end result of the ideal that makes it the ideal you wish to follow.
Yeah.
So it's eventually to opposing ideals of, like, how things should be done or treated that cause them to become enemies.
Yeah.
Rather than a guy was just a merciless killer and one guy wanted to go after him and stop all the killing. It's they had a childhood connection and it went sour fast. Any other questions?
Apologies for the
Nothing.
dumb quest. the dumb things in DMs, by the way.
I have nothing more at this time. If I go any further than this, then this recording is just going to be even longer than before.
Well, I was aiming for this to be at least close to 2 to 3 hours, which it's almost at 3 hours. So I got how long I wanted it to be. I just wanted to know clear basis, talk to you
Yeah.
guys about things you wanted to talk about the game, get some stuff cleared out, and also have some tangent in there so people can see like the kind of people we are, what we use for influence.
Right.
Yeah.
I actually now I'm not 100% on this. On like, exactly the main reason why the real Jinsei actually started hunting down Sheeta, because it can't just have been, hey, this guy's been killing a whole lot of people. Someone needs to stop him. I'll fucking do it. Something
There's
has to have happened.
probably something, yeah.
Yeah, like
Like,
something has to have happened that was significant to Jinsei that he would have to take up arms against Sheeta personally, to the point where he actually put off doing a lot of things that Kirito did just to stop this one man.
yeah.
I will say you did mention to Seth in one episode that there was a girl that you fell for, but you lost her. You could make that the reason.
He fell to Sheeta.
The girl he loved became a victim of Sheeta, but when he looked into it, he noticed Sheeta was killing multiple people. Rather than it was just a random kill. It's somewhat planned.
The Jinsei could end up being like one of those like in NCIS where you're obsessed with like taking down this one crook.
Because he's gotten away with it too long
and it has become personal. To the
Not only
point of them actually leading you along.
it actually wouldn't be just that either. Like, I don't know if I already mentioned this to you before, Mango, but Sheeta has a pattern in his kills. It's mainly in the fact that he would actually prey on those who believe that they have been wronged of some sort. Like, you remember Yoko and her guild when they were technically having a really heated debate over who gets to keep the rare item, or
Oh yeah, the ring.
who gets to keep all the funds? Yeah, that.
Yeah, it was the ring that helped like get them more funds. Which hold on, I have to share this with Pokemon because we thought it was funny. After all that happened, you two eventually got the ring. That was something we made in our head canon because like eventually they got rid of the ring because they thought it was too much hassle for their guild because they had to plan a bunch of fake deaths and murders and all that. So they just got rid of the ring. Or no, it was the ring was sold, and they were fighting over who sold the ring and trying to get it back. Yuto was the one that bought the ring. That's what it was.
By the way,
because they were fighting over the ring that was sold.
Yeah. By the way, I want to bring up something kind of regarding that whole arc thing, just as a slight tangent. They bring up, I forget if it's exactly this in the original, but at least in the abridged, they talk about that married people will share inventory. And the items just don't get destroyed. Now, go to the very last episode of the Aincrad arc. Asuna dies, and it's just like, why did her sword drop on the floor instead of thing? And it's just, they share an inventory. That makes sense. It actually makes sense if you think about it. I didn't realize that until like reading the comment section.
Oh wait, that married couples have a shared inventory?
No, I remembered that it was a thing in the Yoko episode. I didn't put two and two together that that would have been why Asuna's sword just dropped to the floor in front of Kirito rather than turning into pixels and getting destroyed along with Asuna because they share an inventory. And Kirito's able to grab it and use it to finish off Heathcliff.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's that I didn't put those two together until then.
Yeah, I admit, I always wondered why that was the case, especially in the original source material, because to me it didn't make much sense. However, the abridge actually answered this fucking question. However,
Yep.
I think an earlier episode in the original also answered it, or at least hinted at it, because Asuna was kind of commenting on how it was both a pragmatic and romantic system at the same time, which led to one of the best comedic moments in the entire show.
But anyway, I just wanted to mention that. I do want to ask one thing to Mike. This isn't quite regarding what we're talking about. This is more I just want to ask if it'll have anything for the future. Will there be anything about uh the spell interface assistant programs when regarding the scribe in flashbacks? Like Hitomi.
My
I
brain
do
shut off as soon as you mentioned programs.
like will there be anything regarding like Hitomi as like the spell interface thing for a version of Nav Pixies and regarding the scribe in the backstory flashbacks? That's just something I'm curious about.
I think those were more specifically just game designs to help players, not necessarily lore
Probably.
related. I'd have to look into the nav pixies to make sure. So I'll say probably not for right now, unless there's actual like lore reasoning in Alfheim of the nav pixies being a legit like lore thing.
Oh,
Right.
I have no idea based on the wiki. It gives like the wiki gives jack fuck all
Then I'll
about Nav
say
Pixies aside from that.
no. That's more of just a game design.
Yeah. I was asking more like if hard mode would have given a little bit of lore and then if they would have regarded some of it like the scribe wizard archetype assistant versions of them for anything to do with this.
Oh my god, you're trying to make them like Omochao.
What?
Shut.
No.
Shut.
I'm sorry, I just had to. I just had to.
By the way, Omo Chow wasn't that bad in SA2.
Nah, it wasn't that bad.
Every other game though.
Especially in Sonic Heroes. Ugh.
All right.
But yeah,
There
that
we
was my whole thing. But
Going
I do
back to
want to
what I
ask
was-
one more thing. Yeah, but it'll
What?
be after video. You were saying?
But I was basically like going back to what we were talking about earlier. Um, for Sheeta's kills, he followed a particular pattern, one that ultimately that basically results in Sheeta being successful in not only killing his air quotes client, but also the person that the client hired him to go after. Because in the end, anyone who interacted with Sheeta always lost in the end, with the exclusion of Sheeta himself, when he was with Yuto at the time because, well, he got deleted by Jinsei for the third and final time.
And Otekimaru because he managed to actually fight off Shida.
Right.
Because I did make that a thing.
See? Right. So basically, what Shida does to get his prey's attention is essentially a single question. Do you desire revenge?
Oh god, so many
If
people
it's
would. Sorry. Just so many people would want revenge against fucking Haru because he's an asshole.
if it's vengeance you want, then I shall provide. All I need is a name. Speak, and you will get what you deserve. That's essentially that's just a sample of what he would do. Like if he sees someone he can prey on, then yeah, he'll definitely have such an exchange of dialogue like that.
Yeah.
And if Jinsei has proven to be too slow 75% of the time he's gotten involved with him, then I'd say it's pretty effective.
I like how one of those 75% of the times he was just too late to encounter Shida, but see Otekimaru actually fight him off and be like, alright, get out of here, you fucking twat.
Basically. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jinsei, despite being a lone wolf most of the time during the death game, he detests this idea. Yeah. And when you couple that with, again, the body count, I guess it kind of gives Jinsei enough of a reason to put an end to this guy. As if a laughing
Yeah.
coffin was bad enough, we have a single man who's practically catching up to them in kill count.
Now, I will say, Otekimaru did not, easily fight off Shida. He just more played it off as that. But no, he nearly fucking died. The only reason he was able to fight off Shida was because of his ability to switch weapons so quickly.
Yeah.
Literally, he could switch weapons fast enough to pull out the next weapon that would be the most desirably needed to do a counter for the next strike.
Yep. Yeah. By the way,
Yeah,
I drew
see that,
IRL
actually.
Teary.
Oh?
I'm not good at proportions. So she looks really tall, and due to how the clothes look, her hips look really weird, but IRL Teary's in the SAO party.
Where's my phone? Ah! There it is.
Damn, she pretty.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, her hair is just all brown. I'm just gonna say she doesn't have the same purple highlights as in game.
I'll say that's a lot better proportions than I do. I will say, you put a boob window in a hoodie, which usually means the hoodie's too small for her. And with how you have
It's not
them,
a
with how you have them shaped,
yeah.
those are some big badunkadunks for a smaller girl.
Those are some big chest pillows.
Again.
I'm not saying they're
I need
bad
to work on
proportions.
proportions.
With drawing boobs, it's a little difficult, but you drew them good.
Yeah.
You drew them amazingly. But I think you drew them to where they're bigger than intended. That's the only thing
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah, they definitely were.
Some big chest pillows there. Honestly though,
I
it
can
looks
see it.
nice.
I
Oh,
will
never mind.
actually say I heard that.
I thought Jinsei was gonna say the same
And-
thing as me, and when I realized he did, I was like, "Oh fuck!"
And,
just Terry being snippy, just going, I heard that, jackass.
And that's I don't see I can kind of see. No, I'm kidding. Uh but yeah, I will say another reason it looks like this cuz you can see the size of my hand relative to my sketchbook there. My
Yeah.
proportions are even worse than normal because the sketchbook is tiny.
Fair. Still pretty good art
fair
though.
enough.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
But anyway, I just realized I need to still finish my Art of the Scribe.
And thumbnails.
I'll get them.
Anyway, your
Just ping
thoughts,
me tomorrow
Mego.
morning.
Thoughts on what?
Like, basically, on a now more refined reason why Jinsei had to pursue Sheeta across the death game.
Well, like you told me why he does it, or like how the pattern and stuff before, and like I thought it was great. As for my opinion, that I'm going to state is for like why Jinsei goes after him. Making it connected to the love interest definitely sounds about right, especially like
Yeah.
start a death game, especially since Jinsei was younger. He was still a hormonal teenager. Don't snicker. You know it to be true.
Hey, I just find it funny.
Yuto was about to join digital ISIS for a woman he loved, so. Oh, no.
Which
No
we all
laughs
agree
at the
is incredibly
callback?
sad.
Thanks, Pokemon.
Oh, believe me, I immediately had the biggest smile on my face.
Okay, I thought so.
Uh, Meanwhile, Tyrion's just over here like, I almost lost a friend. I made it back up. We're good now.
Yep,
I'm now just gonna go back in my hobbit hole for the rest of Death Game.
yep. As for why she was killed, it could be she probably did something that did piss someone off, but like she didn't know.
Yeah.
Like, or maybe somebody was trying to, like, I'm imagining what if it's something like they were partied together, but a little after, like when they split items, they learned, hey, she actually got a really freaking good item. Now this guy really wants it back, and it's like, so you want it back? I see.
Did I hear you right? Someone stole something from you. I assure you, if you allow me to retrieve it for you, I can guarantee that you will get justice. I will warn you ahead of time, however. It will come at a heavy price. Are you willing to pay it? Little did they know that they were going to die along with her.
So did you get the item yet?
Hold on.
No, sorry.
Actually,
Sorry, it went up in blue pixels. But don't worry. Goes up, stabs the guy in the gut. Yeah, there. You can find it alongside her in the afterlife.
No, actually, I also could see like how it keeps tying to Jinsei having to go back to Yuto's shop.
Oh,
A lot of the people who wanted revenge was talking about it at the Omamori. So Jinsei would hang around there more and more often to try and catch the people who say the stuff first and try to guess ahead of time.
it'd be like a game of cat and mouse.
And because Yuto also has info brokers and had a long chain of them, he'd sell Jinsei that information once Jinsei became a more casual customer. Because when Yuto first opened up, Jinsei only dropped by like once every month, if
I would
not
say so.
twice. But now that that's more of a physical reason of why he should, almost there every single day, and gets the two to actually properly know each other better.
Yeah.
I would
Me-
I would
I
also
mean-
say
Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say that this this nameless girl who is his original love interest who and died. I would say that this was a curve with like 1 year before he caught a glimpse of rain. So this first girl and his encounter with Rain, they would be like a full year apart. Because I feel as though that would be more than enough for him to just process all of that during his hunt.
Fair. And also
But
halfway through that year would be Nakata Komi's also slight falling in love.
Right.
I was gonna make a joke about the info brokers and one of them was Teary. You know, uh, the girl that basically probably just said, uh, there's apparently a legendary sword in this dungeon, supposedly. She
Sorry,
just
what?
she just took marks on chest placements, didn't really even open anything.
Honestly, that could have been how Jinsei got his famous green blade was actually through one of Tiri's things. It's like, it's lore-wise, this should be here. We haven't really tried discovering it. And just Jinsei listening over this, like,
Yeah.
And then after Terry walks
Yeah.
away, he just walks up to Yuto. All right, we're going to go do this. When are we starting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've said it about Tiri before, but she never really found she would go into dungeons, but she would go in like the rogue way where she would be like going through the dungeon hyper stealth wise. She wouldn't open anything. She wouldn't she would notice the unlocking of a puzzle, like stuff like that, and she would note chest locations and stuff and lore regarding the area. She wouldn't open things, she wouldn't take the items, she would just note it down, save it for later. Or for people that actually require them.
So, hey, more world building there. And you guys get to see this in episode 14 as we talk stuff out.
Nice.
And even lore building
Yep.
of a character that pre-existed and just didn't have all of his story done.
Nice.
But all right, I'm gonna say we're gonna end episode 14 here, as it is
Oh.
2:10 in the morning, and I have work in 8 hours. I'm gonna
Oh,
get
shit.
6 hours of sleep.
Uh,
Probably gonna take a 2-hour nap after work before starting session tomorrow. Pardon.
Yeah. Just,
Perdón.
Bastardonos.
Oh yes, that was the name of the bard, actually. Bast Ardonos, based off of the word
Yep.
bastardos or bastardo, which is Italian and I think
Bastard.
Latin. Well,
It's
it was
literally
two
just-
different words: Latin and Italian for bastard. And the reason I named him Bast Ardonos is because he thought people was saying that in the crowd, giving him his name because he was unnamed. Thought they were calling him Bast Ardonos when it was just a mix of shoutings of bastard, no, my money, and a bunch of other words that just made it sound like they were just shouting Bast Ardonos.
That's hilarious.
He took the negative, the negative booing he was hearing, alongside the positive cheers of him having a victory, of just making his name. Like, they named him this, so he's like, oh, this must be like a name of a hero or something of great value. So my name is now Bast Ardonos.
By the way, I would like
That's
And
hilarious.
no one has told him they were calling you a bastard since. They're like, let the
Yeah.
kid be ignorant. Ignorance is bliss.
before before we leave.
Oh, I
call,
realized I called him
I wanna-
arrogant. I meant to call him ignorant earlier.
Yeah. Before we leave call, I do want to ask you something off camera, but I also want to go off this dumb picture in
Okay.
an SAO party.
I already seen that. It's great. But
Also, the video you showed me earlier, I've already seen that in an official YouTube video. It's still funny.
fair. All right, but we're gonna officially end it here, guys, as it's late.
Yep.
I need to get sleep.
Yep.
Thank you all for actually, watching this, hopefully all the way through, and understanding that losing the file to corruption and being overridden. If you were in my Discord, you can tell I said I was going to take only Saturday off. I ended up taking both days of the weekend off because it had mentally affected me in a good decline. And on Sunday, I just took that as a day of just playing video games with friends. It wasn't a mental decline day, but it definitely was not a mental climb either. It was one of those days of, you're at the bottom, let's just rest here. There was no getting worse, then there was no getting better. It was just, you're here now. Let's just do something to get the day over with. So,
Yeah.
I apologize for, not saying sooner, but I might as well tell you guys here. And again, thank you, my wonderful fruits, for understanding the situation and why we had to quickly do this with what people we could, and show that a lot does come to storytelling and playing games with characters and people, as considerations are needed from everyone, not just a few handful of people. And also it should be considerations from the people who actually had a major play in that moment, so, to get their opinions on how they feel about it.
And on how stories you've had in the past can affect how you build them in the present.
Yeah. So I hope to see all of you wonderful fruits next time.
Yep. I will catch you guys later.
Wait. Everybody, get some sleep, and make sure you drink something sweet in the morning. I assure you, you will start off. You will start off your day on the right foot. See ya.
And have a wonderful night, my wonderful fruits. Later.